Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Midland's online worship service. It might be a little rocky today. If you don't have video, do not go out and try to come back in and get it because it's not there. I'm Sarah Clave, worship associate for this morning's service. If you haven't already, please type into the chat box who you are and who you have with you today. Unitarian Universalism is a welcoming and inclusive religion. It encourages us to keep open hearts and minds because our own experience, conscience, and reason are the final authorities in religion. It affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person and that we are all connected to each other and the earth. If you are visiting us today, a special welcome to you and thank you for putting up with our difficulties. We appreciate you spending some of your Sunday morning with us. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat box, by phone, or through our Facebook page. If you've been attending for some time and have come to feel that this is your spiritual home, and you are considering becoming a member of the fellowship, please contact our minister, Eric Severson, or a member of the Welcome team, or let us know of your interest in the chat box. If you have a chalice or candle at home and would like to join in our chalice lighting remotely, now would be a good time to get that ready. We will be including joys and sorrows in this morning's service as we normally do. You'll find the participant icon to raise your hand for that. And we now have an online donation option, which we will introduce after the service. And we will move on now to announcements. You will see them on your screen. If you have children or grandchildren who would like to participate, online religious education sessions will be today and future Sundays at 1 p.m. The Zoom invitation will be posted in the UUFOM Parents Circle Facebook group. Email dreheather@uufom.org for more information. Next week's service will be Mending the Brokenness, led by Eric Severson. One mask, sock, mitten, or hat at a time, people's avocations can help heal the world. Join Ellen Dodge Severson and other UUFOM crafty folks in discussing how and why they use their gifts to provide for others. Heather Cleland Host has an announcement about two of our upcoming services.
Hi, so I'm Heather Cleland Host, Director of Religious Education, and we have two special services coming up where we're inviting all of you to participate. You may have noticed on Facebook that I'm seeking as many paper flowers for use as you can send me for our flower communion. The flowers can be in any style so long as they fit in your hand. Just drop them in the bin by the fellowship door. In addition to that, I'm looking for two special photos from everybody. You can possibly do this. The first service is 2 weeks from today, and it's called Our Incredible Journey, and we will be celebrating our religious education program in this year's journey as a community. So every member of this community is part of what makes ARIA a success. So I'm asking everyone to please send me a picture of you or your family for sharing during the service, especially something that's during our staying safe, staying at home. The second one is for our flower communion. That's the following week. And for this year, we're not able to share flowers in person. So we want to share flowers in a different way. We would like everybody to take a picture of themselves holding a flower, and we're going to share that as part of this service. If you prefer not to share a photo, that's fine. Draw a picture of yourself holding a flower. So both of those photos, and I need to get it by May 26th for both of those services, the picture of your family or yourself, and the picture of you with a flower. So that's a Tuesday right after Memorial Day. So I'm going to put in the chat my email address and a little bit of details because I don't know that everybody can see the screen share. And thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I see that several more people have come in, so let me remind you that Zoom is having a problem today. If you don't get audio, it's not your fault or our fault, and don't try to go out and come back in because you still won't get it. Also, if we don't have your video, we can't mute you, And so anything you say or rustle during the service will be heard by all of us. So keep that in mind. Thank you. Remember to watch for your email for more announcements in our Candle Flame newsletter on Tuesdays and Saturdays. You can email the office at uufom.org to subscribe to the newsletter if you do not already get it, or if you have an item to submit, send it to that address. If you have a candle or chalice at home and would like to light it now, please do so. Also, please join in reading our chalice lighting words today, titled "We Prepare for the Future" by Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Robert F. Gray. And let me remind you that if you are not muted, this is going to be a big jumble, so you might have to read it silently if you're not muted. By the light of this chalice, we prepare for the future. We prepare ourselves and for the times of triumph and times of trial that might come. We prepare ourselves to be present to one another with loving hearts, even in the most difficult of times. We prepare ourselves to make the connections that will lift us out of isolation and prepare the path of justice and equality. Great job.
Thank you, Sarah. Our opening words today are by Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Gary Kowalski. In this quiet hour, may our spirits be renewed. In need, and with trust to receive the hand that is offered. In this community of ideals, may we remember the principles that guide us and reflect upon those things that give meaning to our lives, renewing our dedication to serve the highest that we know. In this time of worship, may our minds be open to new truth and our hearts be receptive to love as we give thanks for this life we are blessed to share.
And again, welcome to all of those of you who are trying to get on and fighting with the technical difficulties that Zoom is having today. You will not be able to get video if you go out and come back in. It's just a Zoom problem, not something that we can fix. Now we'll move on to the hymn. And again, if you're not muted, we don't want to hear you. I'm sorry. We do have an opportunity now to learn a lovely new song. With your mics muted or mute yourself otherwise, please join Donna and Kevin in singing our opening hymn, "When the Poor Ones." We'll be singing verses 1 and 3 as you are able.
When the poor ones who have nothing still are giving, when the thirsty pass the cup, water to share, when the wounded offer others strength and mercy, we see God here by our side, walking our way. We see God here by our side, walking our way. When our spirits, like a chalice, brim with gladness, when our voices full and clear sing of the truth, when our longings free from envy seek the humble, we see God here by our side, walking our way. We see God here by our side, walking our way. Now let's listen to Heather Cleland Host doing this story for all ages.
Hello, I am Mula Nasruddin, and thank you for inviting me here today to hear the story of why I had to feed my coat, which was, it's a really sad story, but it's also hopefully one you'll learn from. So you might know that right now it is Ramadan, and Ramadan ends in just a few days on Saturday, May 23rd. And during Ramadan, Muslims do not eat at all while the sun is up. In fact, they still have all the responsibilities, so you still have to get your work done. And so when the sun sets, we break our fast with a meal with our friends and family. And at the end of Ramadan, which is a whole month long, you can imagine the feast might be even bigger. In fact, you might want to host a feast for your whole village. So this story is about a man who did just that. He was a very wealthy man, and he invited the whole village to come and break fast with him and have this wonderful feast. There was going to be dates and lentils and chickpeas and olives and bread and hummus and falafel and, oh, and best of all, the desserts. There was going to be halva and dates and date rolls and figs and baklava. Oh, after a long day in the field, I was just so excited. I went directly there. I was running late, and so I was still wearing my work clothes, but you know, this is part of the day. And so I went and I arrived, and there's people ahead of me, and they were welcomed, and I got up to there, and the host just kind of turned away as if he didn't see me. I thought, well, he maybe just didn't see me. So I just walked in behind everybody, but everybody just kind of ignored me. They acted as if I wasn't even there. Or maybe they would just kind of look away and then just totally act as if I was invisible almost. And then I saw the food, and it was wonderful. I was all excited. And so I went up, and people just kind of moved in front of me as if they wouldn't make way or allow me to have some food too. And I finally gave up. Well, I have bread and hummus at home, so I am just going to go home. I'm really hungry, and this is so frustrating. So I walked home, and I thought to myself, you know, my clothes are a little bit messy, and, well, there's leaves in my hat from when I was raking those leaves, and maybe I smell a little bit. So I thought, I am going to change my clothes. I have a theory about this. I think that maybe the problem is what I'm wearing. So I thought, well, okay. Got my nice fancy coat on. I was all ready, even had a beautiful scarf, and I got all those leaves out of my hair. And so I was all ready to go. And I went back, and sure enough, they welcomed me. They said, "Hi, Nasruddin, I'm so glad to see you. Oh, I'm so glad you're able to make it. We were worried about you. We didn't know if you were going to ever show up." And I thought, oh, okay. But I went in and I saw the food, and they're like, "Here, come have some dates, have some falafel, and have some baklava." And it was all wonderful. You know what? This food is so great. I knew just what to do. And so I took some of the dates, and I took some of the falafel, and I put it in my sleeves, and I tucked it in my coat, and I put it in there. And every time I took some food, I said, "Here, coat, eat." And after a little while, people started looking at me fun like that. I was expecting this. But I just kept feeding my coat. And finally, the host, he came up to me and he says, "So, people are getting a little worried about you because you're putting food in your coat?" And I said, well, when I came here before in my work clothes, you acted as if I wasn't even there. You just ignored me. So I realized that you don't really want me here. You're just welcoming my coat. So I'm feeding my coat. Thank you.
I invite you now to center yourselves and enter into a time of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Today's meditation is a very brief one by Albanian Indian Roman Catholic nun and missionary Mother Teresa. Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. Whatever form we are, able or disabled, rich or poor, it is not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing. A lifelong sharing of love with others. I invite you to take a moment of silence to reflect on these words. Blessed be. Sarah will share our readings for today.
Thank you, Eric. Our first reading is excerpts from an essay titled Theology of Accompaniment by Dr. Janice Marie Johnson, co-director of Ministries and Faith Development at the Unitarian Universalist Association. She writes, I got an important glimpse into the spiritual practice of being in partnership when I learned about the theology of accompaniment. When I think of partnership, I think of striving to empower the community and building bridges. I think of working collaboratively with various organizations and individuals, especially those who understand the profound difference between providing services to the disenfranchised and breaking bread with siblings. A theology of accompaniment calls us to move beyond othering, beyond tolerating, beyond embracing. It calls us to honor our siblings as the unique and precious beings that we all are, in spite of class, race, ethnicity, ability, and all else that would divide us. Accompaniment is a choice, one that can resonate profoundly as a spiritual practice of being in partnership. Our second reading is titled, That's Why We're Here, by the Reverend Forrest Gilmore, who is Executive Director of the Shalom Center, a resource center in Bloomington, Indiana, for people experiencing extreme poverty. In the first episode of Call the Midwife, a British show about post-World War II midwives, the main character, Jenny Worth, is just starting as a midwife in the East End of London. She experiences a moment of disgust and overwhelmed at witnessing the awful experience of one of her expectant mothers. She apologizes later to the nun she works with by saying, I'm sorry, I didn't know people lived like this. Sister Julianne replies, they do, and that's why we're here. This line really moved me. Perhaps the most important thing I've learned from people in poverty is that what they're experiencing is real, no matter what my own personal feelings about it are, whether it's right or wrong, whether it should be or shouldn't be. Their experiences don't go away simply because I don't want those experiences to be there. Their lives are real. And so before anything else, before solutions or judgments or disgust or even overwhelm, is the simple, gentle call to witness clearly and openly what is real. The only word I have for this is love. To me, this is a tribute to all the people throughout the ages who have witnessed the horrors and hardships of humanity, and rather than turn away, judge, or fix, simply began with, but they do, and that's why we're here. Let's share now in an interlude comprising Echoes of Harlem and In My Quiet Sorrow by Duke Ellington and Jean Gagne, played for us today by Melanie Willison and joined in song by Donna King.
I am worn, I am tired, in my quiet sorrow. Hopelessness will not let me be. Help me. I won't speak of this ache inside, but it eludes me. In the silence of my heart, I'm praying.
Thank you, Melanie and Donna. That was haunting and beautiful. Last month, the New York Times ran an article called Food, Rent, Health Insurance, Tough Choices in Pandemic Economy. In it, reporter Tiffany Sue examined the current difficulties many are facing. As millions of Americans lose jobs, take pay cuts, close businesses, and absorb family members into their homes, she wrote, they're being forced to rethink where their money goes. For some people, she said, the question is simple. Do I buy that jigsaw puzzle to keep from going corona crazy? Or how much do I tip the delivery driver? For others, though, the stakes are much higher. Do we ration ramen dinners so that we can put some grocery money aside in an emergency fund? Or do we sacrifice a good credit score by paying off certain bills before others? Many people turned their heat down to save money last month. Others have had their auto insurance policies canceled for non-payment. Still others have not paid the rent while waiting for government aid to arrive. I'm guessing that this might be the closest most living US citizens have come to poverty. A Pew Research survey showed that more than half of lower income adults in the country say they will struggle to pay the bills this month. This compares with a quarter of middle income adults and 11% of upper income adults. Half of lower income adults, a quarter of middle, and 11% of upper income adults. Sue put in writing what many of us already knew, that even when the economy was strong, many Americans were in a precarious financial position. We still are ill prepared to weather even minor disruptions in our income, and often are weighed down by debt. More people are relying on goodwill from strangers and programs from corporations and government to stay afloat. On the other hand, foreclosures and some evictions have been suspended. Mortgage payments have been waived. Borrowers have been offered student loan relief. Banks, automakers, utilities, and other companies have set up payment deferral programs. While some relief is coming, we still have human nature to contend with. I would say that under the best circumstances, but especially in a time of scarcity, we often condition our generosity on people's appearances or perceived needs. Often we don't fully understand a person's situation. And if we try to clarify our needs, it can be awkward and embarrassing to both to ask and to answer such questions. Sometimes subconscious bias can seep into our decisions about giving. We ask, who is and is not worthy? I wonder how today's story resonated with people. How often have we overlooked someone or denied them as other, only to see them in a new, more familiar light later on, as with Mullah Nasruddin. A colleague this week posted on social media the importance of remembering that across the country, across political lines, across age and race and ability, the problem at the moment is not what your neighbor is or isn't doing. It's not mask making or mask access. It's not state policies. The problem we all are facing is the pandemic. And so while people's urgency to return to normal because of financial pressures is understandable, the task at hand is to beat the virus. This includes protecting the most vulnerable among us, including those of lesser means. Many of the world's religions teach generosity, some version of the Golden Rule. Serving the poor is a mandate in many scriptures. Mother Teresa of Calcutta received both a Nobel Peace Prize and Catholic sainthood for her work ministering to the poorest of the poor. She founded the Missionaries of Charity, a 13-member congregation that grew to more than 4,500 religious sisters and brothers working worldwide. Missionaries of Charity still provides schools, shelters, orphanages, AIDS hospices, and centers in more than 100 countries. They care for refugees, the disabled, the aged, the addicted, the poor and homeless, and victims of floods, epidemics, and famine. She was named a saint for good reason. In the end, Mother Teresa said in today's meditation, it all comes down to love, which by itself has no meaning at all. It is not how much we do, she wrote, but how much love we put in the doing. A lifelong sharing of love with others. In our first reading, the UUA's Dr. Janice Marie Johnson pointed to the difference between providing services to the disenfranchised and breaking bread with siblings. She called Unitarian Universalists to a theology of accompaniment. This requires us to move beyond othering, she wrote, beyond tolerating, even beyond embracing, to honor our one another as siblings, as the unique and precious beings that we all are. This accompaniment, she said, is a choice. It is so easy to otherize that it took me years after theological school to really accept and honor every person as if they were my sibling. And even still, I slip up. Our first principle about inherent worth took on new meaning and deeper meaning. The Reverend Forrest Gilmore, in our second reading, agreed. The most important thing I've learned from people in poverty, he wrote, is that what they're experiencing is real. No matter what my own personal feelings about it are, their lives are real. So before anything else, before solutions or judgments or disgust or even feeling overwhelmed, is the simple, gentle call to witness, cleanly and openly, what is real. The only word I have for that, he said, is love. This idea of being present to someone and witnessing the joys and struggles of their lives may be the greatest learning of my years as a hospital chaplain. And I am again very grateful to members of this congregation's pastoral care team for the gift of their presence and witnessing in this congregation. Reverend Gilmore described our willingness to witness, to love, as a tribute to all throughout the ages who witnessed horrors and hardships of humanity, and rather than turn away, judge, or fix, simply began with, but they do live like this, and that's why we're here. I invite you to check out the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee at uusc.org, which partners with organizations around the world, and Unitarian Universalists for a Just Economic Community at uujec.org, which focuses on issues of economic justice. In days ahead, may our hearts be full. May we prepare for both the times of triumph and the times of trial that lie ahead. May we be ready to extend ourselves to those in need and, with trust, to receive the hand that is offered. May we be present to one another and make the connections that will lift us out of isolation and prepare the path of justice and equality. May those for whom deity holds meaning see God here by our side, walking our way. May our spirits brim with gladness, our voices full and clear ring out the truth, and our longings, free from envy, seek the humble. Blessed be, and amen.
We affirm the work of this fellowship and its mission through our financial contributions. We continue to rely on you paying your pledges and providing what you would otherwise drop in the collection plate. While our in-person activities may be suspended, our staff continue working hard, and in many cases even harder than ever, to provide the services we need. They and the bills still need to be paid. Please give as generously as you can, and may what you give bring you joy. Please take this time to write a check if you wish and mail it to the fellowship at 6220 Jefferson Avenue, Midland, Michigan, 48640. To donate online, please stay after the service for instructions. Another option is to set up bank auto pay, which can be arranged by asking our treasurer, Vicki, for the UUFOM checking account number and then having your bank set up a regular payment from your account. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Melanie. And now, with your mics muted, please join Donna and Kevin in singing our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us. The words are by Sally Rogers, and it's arranged by Betty A. Wilder.
Inside us, we'll lead the way on the road from free to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, we'll lead the way on the road from free to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Thank you, Donna, Kevin, and Melanie. Our closing words today are by John C. Morgan. In the end, it won't matter how much we have, but how generously we have given. It won't matter how much we know, but rather how well we live. And it won't matter how much we believe, but how deeply we love. I bid you peace. Thank you to everyone who helped make this service possible today, particularly given the technical issues. And thank you all for joining us today. If you can stay to chat, great. If you need to go, we will understand. Whatever we may encounter in the coming week, please know that the love of this community goes with you. And until we're together again, many blessings.